Welcome to the Susan LoPresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul podcast. This is the go-to space for midlife and mature women who are ready to reclaim their health, boost their energy, and live long, vibrant, and purposeful lives. Each week, we dive deep into natural wellness, holistic healing, anti-aging strategies, and healthy lifestyle habits to help you feel your best physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Whether you're navigating menopause, working through chronic conditions, or simply wanting to age gracefully and intentionally, this show is your sanctuary for science-backed insights, powerful stories, and soul-nourishing inspiration. If you're a woman over 40 or 50 looking to thrive in the next chapter of life, you're in the right place. Today, I'm very excited about my guest. Her name is Margaret Graham, and she is the artist behind Centering Pendants, which is a line of handmade, touchable jewelry that's designed to help people pause, breathe, and recenter themselves throughout the day. After leaving her career in education in 2016, she followed a very winding path through yoga, mindfulness, and jewelry that ultimately led her to create these pendants as a personal tool to stay grounded. They've since grown into a mission to help others connect with their inner calm, especially women navigating big life transitions. She's also the host of a podcast called The Art of Centering, where she explores the intersections of mindfulness, art, spirituality, and mental health. Margaret Graham, along with her husband Fred and stepdaughter Austin, reside in Anderson, South Carolina, where she runs her art business from the comfort of her home studio. When she isn't busy creating, Margaret enjoys outdoor activities like hiking, paddleboarding, and practicing yoga. Margaret's passion for art developed at a young age. Her childhood home was adorned with stunning linear drawings by M.C. Escher and organic paintings by Georgia O'Keeffe, which greatly influenced her artistic eye. Additionally, receiving handmade gifts from her aunts and grandma during the holiday season and watching her older sister draw only fueled her desire to create. Her art journey officially began after completing 4 years of art classes in high school, confirming that art was the only path for her. Margaret received a BA degree in art with a concentration in ceramics from UNC Asheville in 2002. It was during this time that she also discovered her passion for yoga and meditation. In 2006, she taught herself how to make jewelry, and in 2009, she took metal smithing classes. For 10 years, she sold her jewelry under the name Grit Goods, both online and in galleries, and at various festivals in the Southeast. However, it was her background in ceramics that proved most useful in creating centering pendants. And without further ado, Margaret, welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. I absolutely personally love jewelry. I wear jewelry every single day, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Hi, Susan. It's really nice to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
Yes, my name is Margaret Graham, and I am primarily a jewelry artist. I walked away from my career in education because I got into it based on fear and insecurity, to be quite honest. Like, I went to college to study art, and I studied ceramics, but I didn't have the confidence to believe that I could make it as a full-time artist. And so I went into teaching as a fallback, just as like this is safe and I'll have a steady paycheck and whatnot. It was definitely not an altruistic, I want to change children's lives type of thing. And so I was unhappy in that position. It was a steady paycheck, and so it was secure in that way, and it wasn't feeding my soul. Yeah, that's why I left.
I totally understand that. I worked in corporate America for 27 years, and I felt the same way. I made a great living. I made a lot of good friends working there, but it was soul sucking. It was just, yeah,
Yeah.
like being half alive sitting at my desk every day. So I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, when I left in it was 2016, my husband gave me permission because he was willing to financially support us for a while I could build up a jewelry business. And I was also teaching yoga at the time. So it was a leap of faith in a way in myself, but there was that financial security net.
Yeah. So what made you turn towards jewelry making?
I turned towards jewelry making in 2006, actually, just as a hobby. I used to work at a gallery that featured a lot of incredible artists, and it was the first time that I started getting interested in jewelry because prior to that, I had been sort of, well, not, I was not as feminine as I present now. And I was anti-makeup, anti-jewelry, whatever. But at the gallery, I saw the artistic element in it and how amazing it was, the pieces that these artists were creating. And so I taught myself bead weaving, and then I taught myself to use gemstones and string beads. So in 2006 or 7, I started a business called Grit Goods Jewelry, which was a combination of like dark metal and genuine stones, and it really fit my personality back then. And when I quit my job in 2016, it was to make that jewelry. So I was making Grit Goods jewelry and teaching yoga. But then I had this realization that I couldn't do both very well. Like it was a lot of work
Yeah.
to be a yoga teacher and a jewelry artist and to feel successful in both. So I kept saying to my friends and family, if I'm going to pick one, either jewelry or teaching yoga, then if I'm going to pick jewelry, it has to have more purpose and meaning because there's so much purpose and meaning in teaching yoga. It's very soul-filling. And then one day in the car in 2016, I had an idea for a centering pendant. I was in my car at a stoplight considering how to help people that say they don't have time for an hour-long yoga class or an hour-long meditation. And I noticed that with my hand around the steering wheel that my thumb and finger could connect. And then the other three fingers extended creates Gyan Mudra. So it's a sacred hand gesture that is stands for wisdom and connection and calmness, and it's very grounding. And it prompted me to take a couple of breaths in the car, and I, immediately felt that. And so then I started thinking, well, how else could I prompt a person to make this hand gesture? And the idea of a centering pendant formed in my mind. I saw it concave on both sides with the hole in the middle so that it's perfect to hold between the thumb and forefinger. And so each time the wearer or myself would reach for it, and typically we're reaching for our jewelry out of anxiety or fear, or like there's something going on emotionally that makes us reach for our jewelry for safety and security.
Yes.
So with a centering pendant, when you reach for it, your fingers just naturally slide to the center and touch through the opening, and you're creating Gyan Mudra. And then that in itself is calming and grounded, but it sort of alerts the mind like, hey, there might be something going on emotionally here. Let's take a couple of deep breaths and recenter ourselves, come back to this present moment. Maybe we're dissociating a little bit, and it helps ground us in the present moment. So, yeah, I I quit my job in teaching to be an artist, but I was not intending to make centering pendants at that time. It was just this whole other thing that cropped up in the universe for me. And in that moment, my spiritual awakening also began because before that moment, I was agnostic. I did not have a spiritual practice. I mean, I know that there is spirituality in yoga, in asana, meditation, but I didn't see it that way. So when it felt like suddenly I had been asking for more purpose and meaning in my jewelry, and then this idea just dropped out of the ether for me, I was like, okay, someone heard me and answered my
Yes.
prayers. And so it was just a big moment I had in the car that day that was the beginning of a huge life transformation for me.
Yeah, that was it. That was your calling right there. It came
Yes.
right to you. That's incredible. You know, you said about jewelry, how you reach for it. I, and I think I told you this in our emails. I love jewelry, and I said it on here as well. And there's a lot of times where I'll be talking to someone and I'll grab or I'll hold on. It's very comforting. And
Mhm.
I never not have jewelry on. Even when I sleep, like I have diamond earrings at the back, they're always on. Not the front ones, but the second holes I
Yeah.
always have. But when I walk out the door, I always have a ring or a necklace. Like it just completes the whole outfit, I feel like. But it's also comforting for me. And anytime I go into like a little town and there's jewelry stores, I always end up buying something. And my partner will say, "Don't you have enough jewelry?" No, you could never have enough. Every piece has a story to it almost. I
Mhm.
remember where I purchased it, I remember what made me fall in love with it. And so it really does have a lot of meaning. So when you said that you reach for it, I totally understand. It's comforting in a way. That's
Yeah.
strange to say.
No, it's not strange at all. I think people that have a challenge with anxiety, it is a practice to touch something physical. It's it's using your five senses. So when people have a panic attack, they're taught to say in their mind like what five things do they see and what five things can they hear and what five or one for each sense. So it's, and then they touch something because having that touch sensation is very grounding.
Yeah.
So it's not strange at all that people reach for something physical in moments of stress and anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah. Another experience for me is when my dad passed away. Well, prior to him dying, he gave me his ring that he had, not his wedding band, but another man ring that he wore all the time. And he had lost a lot of weight, so it wasn't fitting any longer. And he gave it to me. And when I drive, I live in New York and driving is crazy in New York and it gives me anxiety. But anytime I have somewhere to go on a little bit of a trip where I'm driving, I always wear his ring. Always. It's like I have him with me and he's protecting me. And it's, just the way it is. And I do feel comfort knowing that I'm wearing his ring and I'm driving and I feel like he's with me, protecting me. So jewelry definitely has an emotional component to it, I feel. There's energy to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I bet when you're driving, you have that ring on your finger, you can also see it up there on the steering wheel.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
With the centering pendant, I can't always see it, but as soon as I reach for it, I can feel the energy and sensation in my heart. The first pendant that I ever made was used to help me personally believe in myself. Because like I said, I'd gone into teaching thinking there's no way I could be a full-time artist. I just didn't have the confidence. I didn't have self-love. I didn't know what that was. And that first pendant, every time I touched it, it was a reminder that I was capable of great things and that I could do it. It was like this cheerleader for me. It reminded me to love myself. And so now whenever I reach it, I feel that energy in my heart, and it's really special.
So now what is your line all about? Do you just have necklaces or do you have a full line of jewelry?
I primarily just make necklaces. I do also make earrings to match with designs occasionally, but I don't do rings. All the rings, I don't know if you do video, but all the rings that I'm
Yes.
wearing that people may or may not be able to see are made by other people. Rings
Okay.
are tricky and have to be sized, and I work in a material called metal clay, and it also is not as good to make rings in metal clay as it is to make them in sheet silver, which metalsmiths use.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's primarily necklaces. We have only 4 designs available on the website right now. It's part of the Centered Soul collection, which are all of the designs that kind of helped me through my healing journey over the last 7, 8 years, and in 2 sizes. Now, I do make bracelets, but I'm currently the only owner of this one, and we haven't released it yet officially. I've had it at art shows, but I haven't put it online. And then a few times throughout the year, we will release new collections, special collections. Like in the summer, we did a Light Within collection, which had 22 karat gold accents. And I'm wearing a necklace like that today. It's a 12 petal lotus, and 4 of the petals have 22 karat gold accents.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Very nice. And this fills your soul, right? It just lights you up. You feel
absolutely.
like it's your true purpose in life.
Absolutely. I feel like God knew that by giving me this project that I could bring it to fruition, because God could see that I was a talented artist and that I wanted more purpose and meaning in my life, and said, "Here you go. Here's the perfect thing for that." And so it's been a journey. So marketing in particular has been difficult for me since
Yeah.
I make something that's so close to me personally. It's been difficult to put on this salesy voice and make people think they need it. Like that makes me feel icky.
Yeah.
And I noticed that what was most difficult about it even was that it had to be so personal, and that in trying to do that, I realized that I wasn't super clear on my own voice and what it is I wanted to say. And so it's been a journey of figuring out who I am. And the more confident that I have gotten in myself, my learning about myself and what I believe and my values, the easier it has become to market the jewelry, because people have seen now how the jewelry has helped me. Like, I'm a completely different person now than I was 8 years ago when this idea came to me.
How
So,
were you 8 years ago?
I'm sorry.
How were you 8 years ago? Like, what was your personality? Were you high strung? Where's the contrast between the two?
So, 8 years ago, I was depressed and
Okay.
dissociated, and I didn't love myself. Yeah, that was what the mindfulness practice showed me, was just how much my inner critic was popping up to say I wasn't worthy, that I was a fraud. And that was very difficult. It was having to take a deep dive within to look at what I was really telling myself, what I was really saying to myself on the inside. I was showing up in the world presenting normally, happily, and whatnot, but on the inside, I was not that. And so the pendant served as a way to remind me that I was worthy. And then I figured out what that meant for me. So for the first time in my life, I gave myself permission to go to counseling on a weekly basis. I'd been to counseling before, but maybe like once a month or once every 2 weeks, and it just wasn't enough. I also gave myself permission to try medication for the first time about 4 years ago. And I also gave myself permission to take up space in in fellowships and rooms where I didn't previously think that I had a right to belong. So I started going to a 12-step recovery program for adult children of alcoholics called ACA.
Yes, I know very well.
Oh, excellent. And I mean, I had to keep giving myself permission. I am allowed to take up space. I'm allowed to look at myself. I'm allowed to heal. I'm allowed to put the effort, energy, and time into me to really get to know myself, to love myself, because that will make the difference in the business, right?
Yes.
I could have faked it until I maked it, but then I in the end I would have ended up unhappy anyway. And so it's been a circuitous journey of healing, and the healing has helped me with the marketing because the healing came from the pendant itself giving me permission to do the work on me. And
Yes.
now I see that that was the point.
How old were you at the time that you had this transformation?
I was born in 1980, so my in 2016 I was 36, and the healing journey really started a couple of years later in like 2018.
Right. When you
And
were in your 40s.
yeah, I'm 45 now. Just
Yes. And I ask you that because, this podcast is about women from 40 and older.
Mhm.
And so many people that I interview, so many women that I interview, the transition always seems to begin sometime in the mid 40s when we're going through perimenopause.
Mm,
And there's definitely that correlation. It was the same for me. I got divorced in my mid 40s and everything changed for the better after
yeah.
that because I don't know if like a veil is lifted from in front of your eyes and you're seeing things so much clearer than you ever did before. I really haven't put my finger on what it is, but that's why I asked you about your age when this happened because your 40s seems to be the time of life for women. I'm not sure about men, but the time of life for women where we make the biggest changes. And usually it's always an improvement in our life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting in my case is that I had to have a hysterectomy and double oophorectomy years ago because I had stage 4 endometriosis and it was compromising all of my organs.
Yeah.
And so I take 1 milligram of estradiol a day to keep my estrogen steady. So perimenopause isn't a part of my story currently because my estrogen is stable. I mean, it doesn't only come from the estradiol, but anyway, that's a whole nother
Right,
thing.
right.
But I will say, I mean, I don't know if your audiences would be into this, but I come from a perspective of a chakra cycle.
Yes.
And so every 7 years of our lives, we go through a different chakra. And in 49 years, because there are 7 chakras, we've had a full chakra cycle. And around the age of 30, let's see, 28 to 35, we would be in our throat chakras, which is where we really find our voice and our
Yes.
self-expression. And then like 35 to 42 is when we're in our, wait a minute, am I skipping years here? Yeah, no, 35 to 42 is then when we're in our brow chakra, which is about wisdom, intuition, but also clarity in seeing. And so I feel like these ages really align with the chakra cycle and human
Yes.
development. And it's like suddenly we begin to see clearly. And
That
then,
makes perfect sense.
yeah. So
It,
that's how it works out in my mind. It honestly, I can completely see the perimenopause aspect as well. But in my personal story, it doesn't make as much sense.
well, it's interesting that you use that as the analogy because when I was in my 40s and I was still married, I developed Hashimoto's disease. So I have a thyroid condition.
Hmm.
Now, from a physical standpoint, it comes from, different things. But from an emotional standpoint, it's about not speaking your truth, your voice, your throat.
Yeah.
You hold back. You hold back your feelings. You hold back what you want to say. And so for me, back then, when I was going through my divorce and all of that, I held back. I did not speak up. I did not stand up for myself. Basically, I was a wimp, let's say. And it manifested as a thyroid condition. So I can totally see how you just related the chakras to our years, and it makes perfect sense. And then also, at some point after my divorce, all of a sudden I was able to speak my truth and everything was coming out. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting journey. Women are very complicated, but they're very intuitive, and there's a lot to us. There really is. We're very deep.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and the beautiful thing about the chakra cycle is that the first one ends at 49, then we get to start over. But we start over with all of the wisdom from the
Yes.
first 49 years. So once you hit 50 through 57, you're again working on your safety and your root, but you're finding this new sense of safety and security inside yourself. It's no longer attached to, I have to have a certain husband to make me feel safe, or a certain partner, or I have to be living a certain place to feel safe. It's about taking that wisdom and finding that that safety is within me. I keep myself safe.
Yes. Wow. I wasn't expecting our conversation to go in this direction, but I absolutely love the direction it went to.
Well, and Susan, I mean, thank you for being willing to see how a physical manifestation of a challenge in your body could also mean something emotional. I think there are many people out there who, when something physical crops up, when they find out that they have Hashimoto's disease, they aren't willing always to look at how that disease has manifested because of something emotional, that it's not just a physical disease. So thank you for sharing that and being willing to look deeply within about that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I love the fact that you went from what you were doing, which really didn't resonate with who you truly are at your core, and you made that change. And so we have similar journeys because I was in corporate America, like I said, for 27 years. And when I got let go through a merger that was happening, I just knew that I needed to do something entirely different. And, I don't make the salary I was making in corporate America, but I am so much happier and more content and fulfilled in what I do.
Yeah.
And I meet wonderful people like yourself today. This was like in such an inspiring episode. And I just love the fact that you made the transition and it's changed everything about your life.
Yeah.
And you did the work on yourself that you knew you needed to do in order to heal.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been a journey of courage and permission. Like I said, it's
Yeah,
just keep going. I knew as soon as I started that it was going to be hard and that I was going to face things that I didn't want to look at, but I also knew that it would be worth it, and that if I didn't do it now, things would just continue to get worse.
right. Unfortunately, I have a lot of experience in that whole situation as well. It's a very, very difficult part of life to go through.
Mhm.
And I also did a lot of work in that area. So it's helped me tremendously. And it's helped me to have a wonderful relationship with the people that were affected by it.
Mm.
Where if I did not go through that program, I don't know if we would even speak to each other.
Yeah,
I learned a lot about forgiveness and compassion as well.
absolutely. Yeah.
So now, where can people find your works of art?
Online, I have a website called centeringpendants.com. That is CenteringPendants.
Okay, I'll put
And
it in the show notes.
and that's also who I am on Instagram, so at Centering Pendants.
Okay. Margaret, any final thoughts you'd like to leave my audience with? Anything inspiring about someone who's sitting here saying, I wish I could change my career and do something that I love to do? With any words of wisdom you'd like to leave my audience with?
As soon as you started asking me that question, the words that came to mind were, "You're worth it." I think when people are considering life transformations, they see just how much would have to change, or they make a big thing like, oh my gosh, what if this, and this has to change? And just, part of recovery programs is taking it one day at a time. So you can tell yourself, I want to change, and you can take that first step to, you don't have to get into a recovery program, but whatever. Do
Right.
one thing that you think is going to help that day, and then just go from there. But the message has to be, you're worth it. You're worth that one day. This day, try something different. Next day, do something different. You're worth it. And don't let the fear of like how much might have to change prevent you from moving forward, because you might be surprised how little has to change.
Yes. Sometimes we overcomplicate things, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah. Maybe I shouldn't say sometimes. We always overcomplicate everything. We're trying to figure out the big picture instead of taking small baby steps each day to get to your goal. I know you have a podcast.
I do. It's called The Art of Centering.
And what is that about mostly? Like, what's the theme of the podcast?
The first four episodes, I share my story in depth, but then I also have guests on there who have life transformation stories along the themes of creativity, mindfulness, mental health, and spirituality, because those were the four pillars of my healing journey. And
Yeah.
I feel like those four, if not a combination of two or three or more, are also the pillars of other people's healing journeys.
So if someone is on here listening and thinking, wow, I wish I could have the courage to do that, your podcast may be very inspiring for them to listen to. Am I right?
Oh, I hope so.
Yes.
I absolutely believe so. I've had so many people tell me that from the first episode to the 12th episode, my voice just changes. They could hear it in my voice, the confidence that arised from just doing the thing. That's like the biggest lesson I've learned, is that don't wait until you are ready to do something, because if you wait until you're ready, you'll never do it.
Right.
But you get good at a thing by practicing doing it. So just start. Just do the thing.
I
And
will put the link to your podcast in the show notes as well.
yeah, thank you.
I think that's very important. Margaret, thank you. It was such a pleasure to meet you. I wish you the best of luck in everything that you do. And I will be sure to follow you and go online and check out your jewelry, because a girl could never have too much jewelry, right?
Right.
So
Thanks,
thank
Susan.
you. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Same.
Um,
Take care.
Thank you all for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If this episode resonated with you, please leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Please be sure to follow me also. And if you could think of anyone who would also enjoy listening to this episode, please share it out with them. And don't forget to follow me. Until the next time, be well, stay happy, and bye for now.